Oh, it's hot. Oh, shit. No, it's hot as hell in Houston, man. Holy shit. I'm recording this in my car, as you can see, and I can't turn the air conditioner on because it's gonna be too noisy. So if you see me sweating like Donald Trump, don't call me out on it in the comment section. Today's video is an answer to a question that I've received from a viewer, John Milano Jr. The reason why I need to make a video about this is, one, he's asked this question multiple times and I keep forgetting to get back to the comment. But also because I think it's something that's worth talking about. I really love to hear your opinions about this and what do you think in terms of this question. So let me go ahead and read the question, that way we understand what we're talking about. What is your opinion about the horseshoe shadow? If you guys are experiencing hair loss, or you've seen anybody who lost their hair, like me, you end up with that ring around your head. So it's bald here on the crown also, and then like around here you just got like the shadow. They call that the horseshoe shadow. Would you say that shaving your head is more of a self-acceptance move, or simply a thinly veiled attempt to make a balding man's scalp look homogenous, like I guess blended? Long story short, he's asking my opinion about the shadow and why do people shave their heads. I had to think about this. I don't want to put this in a comment because one, not everybody's gonna see it, and I feel like this is something that I would love to have a discussion about. And I'll just start the discussion with this question. Actually, John started with the question. But I think it's something that we have to address in the balding and the hair loss community, because that horseshoe shadow is, I think, one of the hardest parts about losing your hair. I mean, if you think about it, if we lost all of our hair, like not even like leaving the sides here, I mean, like literally everything came off, would losing hair be that bad if we were able to just lose it all? Because then you don't have the shadow and you just don't have hair on your head. So let's talk about that first part of the question first. What do I think about the shadow? When I started losing my hair, guys, my dad was already bald. He had been bald for decades. And I just became accustomed to seeing him with that horseshoe shadow. It was just his thing. And I guess because of that influence, if I think about it, I just associated the shadow with my dad. In other words, I associated that with, a middle-aged man, probably a father, or at least a man who has kind of lived out his youth and he's on his way towards, the latter half of his lifetime. And with that comes a certain set of beliefs and a certain set of assumptions. Being a 23, 24-year-old male and coming to terms with the possibility that in your 20s you're going to look like a 50-year-old father, that's something that is not easy to come to terms with. Like, it's not easy to accept that, and it's a scary prospect to consider. So when I started losing my hair, I had to go the shaving route. I shaved my head, well, not with a razor, because I got razor bumps really, really bad, really terribly. So I never used the razor, not even an electric razor. I just can't do it. But I would use, the Zero Guard, and I would go as close as I could. I'm lighter skin. I mean, I'm not white, obviously, but I have lighter skin. And especially when you shave your head, like there's no sun hitting it, so your head is basically gray. And so the shadow stood out prominently on my head. And I was so self-conscious of the shadow. Even after shaving my head, I still wore a hat, because you can see the shadow from a mile away, and it just screams hair loss. And at least in American society, I can't speak for anything but the society that I'm from. And when you're in your 20s, there's like a subtlety of weakness, I suppose. And I know everybody who lost their hair doesn't feel weak. I'm not saying that every guy who has the shadow is going to feel weak, but what it did for me was I just didn't feel as, I don't want to say powerful, like almost, I just felt weaker. Not physically weaker, just weaker in general. And it was like a signal to everybody else, especially other men, because that's who I think I was really worried about, was other men judging me on my hair loss. It just punctuated the fact that I was losing my hair, and in some way I was losing my youth. So for me, the horseshoe shadow was, man, it was rough, man. It was really rough. And like I said, even though I shaved my head, I still wore a hat to cover I mean, there's no hair. You can't see any like, oh, he's losing hair, he's trying to maintain it. No, it was like I literally cut it all off, but I still couldn't go out without a hat. I just felt that self-conscious about it. And I am sweating like a damn dog. But anyways, going back to the question, Would you say that shaving your head is a self-acceptance thing? If you're a proponent or a supporter of Bald Cafe, he does good work. I'm not gonna, discount Bald Cafe because I know a lot of people get value from his content, and he fills a very specific role in this hair loss niche on YouTube and on other platforms. And I respect the hustle, man. And he does good work for those guys who are looking to come to terms with hair loss and just shave it. However, as you guys know, I'm on the other side. There's two different camps of guys, and I've mentioned this to a couple other subscribers. There's the I'm gonna accept it and shave my head camp, the shave camp, and then there's the no shave camp, the guys who take finasteride and minoxidil and Dermaroll and try to do all of these methods to attempt to regrow their hair. And I clearly support the no shave camp. So by the virtue of that, it puts me at odds with the message of just shave your head. And I've always been vocal about that. Stop telling guys to just shave their head unless they ask you, should they shave their head? Don't volunteer that advice because it's not going to be received very well, and it discounts, or rather it dismisses a guy who's really trying to just hold on to his identity. So going back to the question, is it a form of self-acceptance? In a way, I think it really is, That's why I had to shave my head. It was just like, fuck, I'm losing my hair, you might as well just shave it off. But even that first time that you shave your head, in your mind you're like, I'm accepting it by doing this. But when I shaved my head the first time, I didn't feel better afterwards. And I didn't feel worse. It was just like, okay, this is the new me, I guess. I guess I just had to roll with this. And it was a daily struggle waking up, seeing that I was bald. And, shaving it all off made me really think like I am bald. Now, to be sure, I was not spending a lot of time on cutting my hair because it's low maintenance. You just shave it off, 10 minutes in the bathroom and you're done. You can go about your day. So there are some benefits to shaving your head if you're losing your hair. But the thing about self-acceptance that it's really hard to talk about as a sweeping generalization is that everybody's psyche is different, and everybody's value system is different, and everybody's insecurities are different. And a lot of these, or actually all of these, internalized beliefs that we have are influenced not only by our own minds, but by society, by parents, nurture, the way you were raised, by what you consume in terms of media, your idols, who you follow, who do you look up to, and, a plethora of other things that I can't even think to mention right now. And it becomes a very complicated thing to say that every guy can shave his head and and say that he's accepting that he's losing his hair. It doesn't work. It's not that black and white. So while Bald Cafe and other proponents of just shave your head think that it's like the first step to self-acceptance, it didn't make me feel better. And it didn't make me feel worse. I just didn't feel any different. It was just still the same insecurity that came with having the shaved head. So going into like fighting hair loss, finasteride, minoxidil, Dermaroll, essential oils, massages, laser therapy, whatever it is you do, PRP, and even, as far as hair transplants, to me, that is also a form of self-acceptance. And you can just hear me out on this one. It's not like I'm denying that I lost my hair if I get a hair transplant or take finasteride. Guys who take finasteride aren't denying that they're losing their hair, but they recognize that there are solutions to either postpone or, delay the onslaught of the hair loss. So in healthy amounts, I believe that fighting hair loss is the same thing as shaving your head, in that you're doing everything that you can do that's going to make you feel better. All right, so if shaving your head is what you want to do to feel better and to come to and make yourself accept your current situation, cool. If you don't want to shave your head and you want to use finasteride and you want to do all these things to make yourself feel like you're still in control, that's also fine. And if you guys disagree with what I'm saying, drop it in the comments. I mean, we can have a discussion about this. And this is one of the most hotly debated topics in the hair loss discussion. So understand that my position, my belief is my own. And I think at the end of the day, you really have to make a decision on what you think is best for you. But I want to go back to this question just one more time here. Thinly failed attempt to make a balding man's scalp look homogenous. I don't know if I agree with thinly veiled, because it's very obvious if you shave your head what you're trying to do. You're trying to basically blend the ring with the bald. or make it look less apparent. This is why a lot of people say that black guys look good balls, I think, is because black guys' skin is darker, obviously, and you know, the ring is not as visible. My dad is a couple shades darker than I am. I'm mixed, so my mom is Filipino, she's very light-skinned, and my dad is Creole, and he's sort of more like a brownish, like a dark brown. But his skin tone really does well at blending or creating that homogenous combination of the shadow and the bald spot. And so there's really no clear distinction of where the hair is and where it isn't. And there's a lot of black actors who pull this off very well. I can't think of any off the top of my head because I'm just not the type of guy who follows actors like that. But you guys, you know who I'm talking about if you think of a black guy. On the other side of the color spectrum, you got white guys like Jason Statham, who shaves his head, and that's his image. But people always, they drop these names like The Rock and Jason Statham, and you know, these are not proper comparisons, man, because at the end of the day, these guys are Hollywood actors. It's literally their character to be bald, like balding. Like, you can't imagine Jason. Can you really imagine Jason Statham with like a full head of hair? Like, it just doesn't work. The Rock, the same thing. Like, we've seen pictures of The Rock before he lost his hair. He just looks different, and it embodies their character. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I don't like when people say, well, yeah, you know, all these movie stars do it, so yeah, you should accept it too. It's not the same, because if The Rock wasn't as big as he was and he wasn't as famous as he was, you know, would we look at him the same? We don't know how these guys feel about their hair loss. I mean, yeah, that's his character, but we don't know if that's something he's okay with. I mean, he's a multimillionaire and everything, but LeBron James is one of the richest athletes ever, and LeBron James had a hair transplant, and I'm thinking he wears hair fibers or he does something, but I mean, these guys are literally millionaires, almost billionaires, and they still have insecurities about their hair loss. So I think that's a cop-out when people throw out celebrities' names and stuff. Throw out normal people, man. Like, throw out your best friend. Yeah, my best friend shaved his head and he's okay with it. But even then, it goes back to my first point. Like, every guy's level of what makes them feel comfortable is different, and every guy's method of reaching self-acceptance is different. Many guys leave comments on my channel asking me if I plan to move on to detached ride, or get another hair transplant. And my answer today is I don't know. For the hair transplant, definitely I'm not going again for that. I'm done. But for detached ride, the 2020 DJ is saying no, I'm not going to go on to detached ride. Just because, you know, I feel like I'm doing enough right now, and even though it's not the ideal situation, you've seen my before pictures, guys. I come a long ass way, and shout out to whoever left the comment that said, you know, I lost sight of where I came from. Thank you for reminding me. Because I have come a long way, and I should be more grateful about how much ground I've gained in 17 months. So I'll try to be more cognizant of, you know, being grateful. I just don't know if every guy who decides to fight his hair loss is just postponing, man. I think it's a guy trying to do everything he can to solve a problem, and if it fails, I think that's self-acceptance. If it fails, he's like, you know what? I did everything I could do. It didn't work out. I can accept that. That's another conversation about the way you view life, you know? Like, I'm the type of guy, if I have a problem, I will try everything I can to solve that problem. Because I don't like losing. I'm very competitive. I don't like losing. And it's just one of those things where if I don't try everything I can do, I'm always going to wonder what if, you know? And that's just how I am. Maybe some of you guys are like that. Drop in the comments if you are. So it's a really big question that you're asking, John. And I think that's one of the reasons why I couldn't answer it initially when you asked the first time, is just because it's not something I want to type out. This is a real we're getting into the psyche of how a man thinks, and psyches are never one-dimensional. So hair loss is just a small part of a bigger picture of somebody's ego, right? So anyways, I hope that answers your question. Guys, I love these kinds of questions because I've never had really a lot of opportunities to talk like this. In my earlier content I did, and I stopped doing it, but I'd like to start more of these types of videos. Anyways, DJ from Carrots and Brotherhood. I'll see you in the next video.